This is Fleur Brune coming to you today for a new topic of discussion. Join on in, check on in. I know I haven't been in for like a few days, right? Yes, I'm still in Brazil. It's magical. Has its moments though. So I'll wait for a few people checking. I have found some profound information. Listen, the uploads that I'm getting from South America, remember I've inverted my direction, and what it's done, hey Lynn, I've actually inverted where my location is, and I've had contact with ETs, and it has upgraded the amount of intel that I'm getting. Peace, peace, peace. Peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. Thanks. Oh, Jamie in Florida. Peace, Jamie. How you doing? Peace from Brazil. So I want to say, yeah, Brazil's a big country, so I shouldn't say peace from Brazil. Peace from the part of Brazil that I'm in. It's still an undisclosed location for good reasons. So check on in. Hey, Susan, how are you? Susan, I saw you. You left me a. Did you leave me? No, you left me a really interesting video from Manoas in Brazil. Thank you for that. That was really interesting, the fruit and everything. So, family, I have gotten some more intel. I actually had a chance to go visit a shaman. So I actually had a session with a shaman. You know, when you go somewhere and you have the opportunity, when you have the opportunity to go and do some interesting things that you always wanted to do, it's, hey, George is in the house, do some interesting things. I had a chance to go see a shaman yesterday. I was having foot aches and I had to find out metaphysically what was going on with me in my mind. So I actually had, hey, Mr. Corey, what's good? Mr. Corey, I'm still here. So, listen, I'm sorry. It won't let me, of course, when I'm doing a live, it won't let me I have actually a place to sit my phone, but it won't let me sit it on there because it won't let me turn my phone sideways. So, like I said, I have some phenomenal intel. I'll wait until a couple more people check it. I know it's Sunday, and for you guys, I think you're an hour different, depending on where you are. So for all you Northeasterners that are like in New York, Jersey, Philadelphia, Florida, North Carolina, Washington, D.C., Maryland, New Orleans, you're a little different. Where else? South Kakalaki, North Carolina. You guys are only an hour difference. So I'm an hour ahead of you. So I'm in the future. Michigan, I think are you on Eastern? Whoever's on Eastern, I'm an hour ahead. Now, for those of you who are like in West Coast time, then you're 4 hours behind me, so I'm 4 hours ahead. So you got to figure out all the other stuff because I can't figure out all the other time zones. So I'm only an hour difference from the East Coast. Peace. Look at my eye. Oh, Vivian. Okay, so family, I've got some phenomenal intel. I'm probably going to take this video down. Listen, I give you warnings when I'm gonna take the video down. So I'm gonna give it to you, and if I feel like keeping the video up, that's how profound the information that I found out through my uploads and downloads, through having a shaman visit. He actually does ayahuasca. I don't do any of that. You know, I don't do ayahuasca. I'm drug-free and alcohol-free. That's how I'm probably the cleanest contactee that you can ever meet. I am drug and alcohol free. And if I ever drink alcohol, you'll understand why I should be alcohol free. So anyway, I had a chance to visit, big up to Sydney. Sydney will have an interview with me. It'll probably be posted on Patreon sometimes next week. So I'll have Sydney on, who was a shaman. Phenomenal sun star. Like his eyes shapeshifted, and he has actually reptilian eyes. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is why I went to see him. He's actually where I'm located, which is interesting. Everything is relative. Whatever you need at the time you need it, it will be right in your same perimeters. So I actually went to the shaman. I think I told you I had foot aches, and Paola, which her new nickname is Guccina. Her name is Guccina. She likes to say Gucci all the time. So her nickname is Guccina, so you'll know that's Paola, okay? So I went to a shaman. It was really cool. It was like walking into, like, you know when you walked into the movie, you know when Neo walked in for the first time in the Matrix, and the what's her name? she was a seer, whatever she was a seer's house, and it was like different. It was crazy because not only was he in our general location, like he was like 2 minutes away from me. Go figure that. The Oracle, thank you. It was the Oracle. So it was like, okay, so we called them, actually Guccina set this up. Guccina's the bomb.com. I woke up in the morning, I was like, my feet are killing me because I had hurt them before I came, and I've just been running around, and I'm not, you know, I'm not two pounds, you know, I'm a thickums, as you see, and you know, I'm carrying some weight. But I had her feet, and I know metaphysically it means something, and also when you're traveling, it's also tied to feeling being out of sorts with movement, meaning that there's something that's tying you that wants to prevent you from moving. So there was something psychologically going on. Anyway, that was the reason why I go. I know any reason to see a shaman. So I went to go see Sydney. Sydney was a bomb.com. Again, you guys will see him, especially I'm going to leave that on Patreon because I haven't done videos for Patreon lately. So that will be for Patreon. He's amazing. Probably the most profound person I've ever gone to. I don't think I've ever met an individual like this in my life. So I ended up going to an appointment with the shaman. He was amazing. I walked in and we were just talking and chatting it up. Yeah, he was reptilian. He had reptilian eyes, which indicates he is mixed with the delirium. Remember, there's many types of beings who have those slit eyes. It was a little wider, so it's not more of the snake. Nega has a slender almost, and also the crocodilians. I like to call them the crocodilians. The crocodilians have more the slender, and the snakes have that more like slender and then it thickens out. This was more wide. So it makes me think maybe Syrian or Illyrian. If I had to bring an origin, you know, I broke the code of disillusion. So I see who you are. I'm about that life, and I can see it almost immediately because I stare straight into your eyes, and sometimes that makes people very uncomfortable when I'm always looking in their eyes. But I make it a point to have her come down and do it. Hold on, family. You can do it? You gotta be careful. Can you hop up there? Hold on. My little ones. I don't want you to break that. Hold on, family. I'm gonna get there in a minute. You know, we're like in our own little, you want me to get it? You want me to get it, babe? Yeah? I'll get it for you. Hold on. My little ones have a sweet tooth right now, and I gotta climb up because they're trying to get snacks while mommy's making a video. It's cute. I love it. Listen, I'm in the middle of the jungle, and you better make sure you have all your goodies. You know how we get down here. You better make sure you have all your goodies in the middle of the jungle because I'm not running out in the middle of the night. And we'll go into some other information as well. Hold on. Here you go, Cookie. Okay. Make sure you throw that out because we don't want bugs all over. Okay, so, okay. We were at the beach all day. Okay. Hey, Ruby. So I went to the shaman's home, and like I said, he had the reptilian eyes. I don't know what type he is. He, like, again, I'm assuming it was more so Syrian or Illyrian based on the eyes, because he didn't have and he has a connection to, he says he has a connection to the Pelagians and Arcturians. Big up to the Pelagian and Arcturian offspring and seedlings here. So during the session, and I want to make this quick because I want to get into the profound information. Like I said, if you're watching this video and I take it down, it's because I want to. This is not going to be something that YouTube will take down. I will take it down because it's information that I found out that I know that will have some grave consequences, because remember, I'm not in the States, and I have some research that I wanted to compare this information that I found out to, because I'm almost 1000% what I have found out and basically vetted out via my intel from the shaman, myself, the contact I've had, my upgrade, the wave came in. So there's a lot of things that have happened. It's only the 5th day in Brazil. I have about 25 more days in Brazil. So I went to the shaman, we were talking about the many people. So, you know, he asked me where I'm from because obviously I look like a local, but I speak English. He spoke English pretty well. So pretty well. He's traveled, he's well traveled, mixed with like, you know, it's like the Brazilians that are mixed with like German, a little bit of, what is it? Like German, some Greek, you know, he's more so mixed with a lot of the European sect of the Brazilian sect, but a little bit of that undertone of like negra in there a little bit. He found out that he has a little bit of that in him. So he's sitting, his home was like, you walk into, I opened his gate, because let me slow down. When you come here, and like I said, you know, Cucina told me not to make you guys think that Brazil is all milk and cookies, because it isn't. Every single part of Brazil is very different. The people's personalities are different. The demographics is different. The way they sociologically communicate is different. Let me say that. I'm in one part of Brazil that is basically a certain small demographics of the entirety of the country. The country is huge. I want to say that. So all gates, you know, most people who have wealth or somewhat prestige all are behind a gate. Okay, let's just say that. Okay, just because you have to here because of the amount of crime and the obvious imbalance socioeconomically between people of color and others. Okay, and I'm not going to get into that because, well, it kind of ties into what I'm talking about. So I go into the gate of this wonderful, give him a big hug. He's beautiful. I like I said, I'm going to interview him. He'll be on my Patreon. He is amazing. I haven't met another person like him in my life, and I've traveled. Went inside, walked on this like sacred geometrical like ground, like every stone, like he opens up this huge gate. He smells amazing. He's so embracing. He's like bald head. He looks like, you know, somewhere like he stepped out of the French Riviera. He's got a perfect tan. I'm just giving you the whole, oh, thank you. Yes, please hit the like button if you like the topic. So at least I know to share this. Because I know you guys don't like this, I'll share it with, you know, I want to share what I know you'll enjoy. If you like the content, I'll keep sharing it here as opposed to putting it in my private group. If I feel like the content is not liked, I'll just share it privately. That's it. It's not a big deal. But thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, love. I walked on this beautiful walkway, walking in like another dimension. Now, mind you, we're in the jungle, because for him to be close to me means he's in the middle of the jungle too. Let's just say that. So we're walking down this beautiful pathway with like sacred geometrical stones. We walk inside of his loft. I felt like I walked inside the French Riviera. There's hummingbirds. Listen, this was straight out of like, I was like, oh snap. He took me into a whole new dimension. I mean, I was impressed, but I was in awe. I was like, yo, and it smelled amazing because he had cleared. Obviously, he's a shaman, so he had a beautiful very tempered scent that was amazing and clearing. You could tell he cleared before I came. Sat down outside where he had the most amazing view of the jungle, a different angle than I have over here. His was just absolutely more intense. And hummingbirds are coming by and coming, and bees are coming, black bees are coming. It was amazing. So we're sitting down talking. I want to give you the whole shebang. And we start talking, and he asked, you know, where am I from? Because obviously I speak English, and he knew from somewhat of what Cucina told him that I was there. But I told him, you know, he said, you know, you look very much like the people here. And I said, well, I told him my whole story, that even though my family moved to the French Caribbean, they were originally one side, most of the sides of the family, for the most part, were from South America. Okay, I've told you about my family migrating. Even on my father's side, which has a lot more European, he also came. His mother was in Venezuela, and they migrated from South America. Okay, so that gives you an idea. So we're talking, and he starts going into the story that blew my mind, because we're just talking before the session. He's opening up my gates, because he knew that in order to have somebody receptive to having clearing or having conversation of healing, that you have to kind of lower their guard. And as you know, I grew up in New York, big up to New York, Mount Vernon in the house. We tend to be a little guarded, even if it's a comfortable situation. It's just my natural repertoire. So, you know, I'll fold my arms and what have you. So he starts going into the different, he's like, oh yes, you know, we're here, you know, this is where they created the fifth race. That's why we're all the O progenitors. Okay, listen to me, family. This is how he kicked off the conversation. I want you to listen to me. BX in the house, what's good? He started off the conversation, he said, this is where they created the fifth race, the O progenitors. The Germans had created the fifth race. Okay, so that's the first time I've ever heard that aspect of anything. I don't think I've ever heard that. Now, mind you, I do know that the Nazis had done, you know, their eugenics program has been absolutely insane. We do know that the Nazis did not lose the war. They actually were relocated to South America and also employed by the United States of America. That's why you have fluoride in your water. That's why you have chemtrails in your sky, because the friendly, nasty eugenicists called the Nazis were all moved to that side of the country, and they all did it based on the intel they got from tall aliens, tall white aliens, that they got futuristic humans, that the Nazis were getting reversed engineered information about technology, and that's why the Nazis had a lot of technology that weren't seen by others. That's why the Nazis got all this wonderful genetic information on how to crossbreed people and hybrid. That all came from these futuristic beings that traveled back in time to interact with the Nazis, okay? And the Nazis are in South America. You already know that's a whole conversation that we're not going to go into, because that's a whole nother story, okay? So do know, if you don't know that part of the history, I would suggest that if you think you know, it's something that you want to research, you should really go into the history of the Nazi relocation, the Germanic relocation to Colombia, Venezuela, Paraguay, Brazil, and Uruguay. Okay, you can see it, and they actually have communities that they coexist to this day that are very closed to the basic populace as far as mixing and interbreeding, which they have done. And also, it also details the lies that you've been told that the Germans were trying to kill off people of non-white origin. That was a lie. Because the Germans were mixing with the South Americans who looked very much like me and darker at the time. So if they had an issue with people of color, obviously they wouldn't move somewhere that was so aesthetically brown, okay? So that's some information if you need to research. I would suggest it's very interesting. You'll see a lot of Germanic architecture in Rio de Janeiro, I think in Sao Paulo. You'll see remnants of German infiltration in a lot of the architecture all around South America, okay? And those who are from South America, you already know. So this is more so for the States, because we've been lied to, okay? And I'm gonna get into that. That's why this video may not stay up, okay? Because I came on some information just from seeing, everything came together, because there's a couple things that happened during this session that blew my mind, and then today, it just, epiphany came to me, okay? So, he talks about the fifth race that were created and that were the O progenitors. That's why he said all of us in South America have O blood, which myself, and also big up to Cucina. Cucina is also O. She's O negative and I'm O positive. He said the majority of us are O's. We are the race that was created here. So, you know, my curiosity, I didn't want to really get deep into that, because it was something that stuck in my head, and then we were going into forms of healing via my foot issue, and then what I found was interesting, over the last 3 days that I came here, I told you that I had an ancestral release, meaning that my ancestral codons were opened. I had access to my ancestral DNA, which I didn't before, via my fasting, which actually opened up a portal and it gave me access to my ancestral DNA. And it's why I started to eat only foods from South America and the Caribbean as opposed to other foods, because I was craving it, because I now had access to the information that was muted via the food, the chemicalization, the vaccinations that have been done over the last couple of 100 years. Okay, so it's gonna get a little deep, family. So as we start talking and so on, he talks about the access to the DNA. And what happens as we're talking about it, he says, listen, and we talked about this on the show, that's why I say everything is synchronistic. Remember when I spoke about the fact that sometimes there are things that happen to us and we hold on to information about our ancestors that we don't realize. And I gave an example of how sometimes a woman's grandmother is raped, and that is inside of her DNA. So what happens to that woman when she's raped, the grandmother, she is traumatized, and that trauma holds in her very own codons, and it is perpetually reinstated as a fear, or it comes up as a physical ailment, as something that traumatized the gene pool, and it creates a kind of marker that perpetuates through the generations. That's why many of you talk about ancestral releasing, so on. So he went into that with me because he said, you know, there were some things going on with me, and he said, you know, there's a woman that isn't you, but she's you here. So it was interesting because he brought up where I came from, which is at the tip of Brazil and at the beginning of Cayenne, which is now French Guyana. And he said she was sad because she had to be away from her family, and it made her sad. And it was something that traumatized her enough where you're holding on to her sadness that isn't yours. So he went into that, which was deep. He gave me tools to be able to release her because she felt the pain. And because this is where it's deep, family. Because I had done the fast, remember, I released my ancestral DNA, and because I did that, I started to release actual memories from other blood members, other lineage. So now I took on a memory, and it was starting to manifest in my body of my ancestor, because I released and I accessed my DNA. So now it started to show up as a manifestation in my personal body. And you know, it's crazy because I was like, oh, I was so excited. Yes, I released my ancestral DNA, but I did that. But it's like, you know, when you have a scar, like you get a boil, and the boil is just something that has to be dealt with, because now it's like the whatever's inside is coming out, so it becomes a boil. So now you deal with the boil. It's kind of like that. I opened Pandora's box by fasting. I literally opened Pandora's box, access my ancestral DNA, and now I was feeling my ancestors' pain via me opening that. But this is where it gets beautiful, beautiful, family, because you can't heal what you don't acknowledge. So now this ancestor that had been traumatized from her being taken away from her family, I could heal her because I'm the living ancestor, and I can heal her via my portal because I have the physical body to do so. So he gave me these wonderful, listen, I'll get into that later. He gave me this wonderful ways to release that, but we're going to go into ancestral DNA and why the fifth race is important, why the O blood type, O negative and positive, which are the newest blood types. Now, this gets deep, family, because I'm going to have to take back, and that's why I say this is tentative until I can go back and look at my research papers. This is really deep, and that's why it's so profound to share this with you. When he mentioned the fifth race, I never heard that before. I've heard of the fifth element, you know, you hear of that. And I had to actually look and see where there's references of the fifth race, anywhere on movies or so on. So Stargate, what is it? Stargate, I don't know if you guys ever watched Stargate SG-1. It's not the SG-1, it's another one. Stargate actually had a show. I don't know if you watched this. I used to watch this back in the day. Stargate was like a series talking about the, these guys from Earth that used to travel through the Stargate and go to different worlds. Okay, so Stargate actually had a show called The Fifth Race, and was interesting because I wanted to just see where the reference might have some would show where maybe this was coming from. And as I'm looking at SG, I'm just reading, you know, I'm reading the remarks on the series because I didn't want to watch the whole show. The fifth race actually was an episode where one of the captains walked through the Stargate and he accessed a technology that actually uploaded ET, an advanced ET's intelligence inside of him, and it got to the point where he kept evolving so quickly in intelligence. Listen to this. This is SG. This is SG. Oh gosh, I think it's SG. It's not SG. It's not Stargate. It's not Stargate SG1. It's the other one. I think you guys you'll look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about when you put it in. You'll see. So as I'm going to just look at the reference to this show, it says he went through the Stargate, one of the captains, he got some technology, it's uploaded information in him, it accessed his DNA, and it kicked it up, and it started to upgrade him to the point where it was raising his intelligence so much, so quickly, that he wasn't able to even speak English anymore. He spoke the ancient language of the aliens that actually left the technology to be able to contact the beings that were coexisting at, I think, Earth at the time. Now listen to that. Listen to that. What is it? SG season. Oh, yes, thank you. Okay, we have it. SG1 season 2. Is it season 2? Thank you. Okay, we got Kim got it. Kim got it. Okay. So, you know, I always want to look at reference because, you know, movies sometimes, they like to put movies in there to kind of give you hints because the universe has to tell you things. So anyway, I look at the reference and I think to myself, okay, I've done research. Now, I have to go back in my archives because remember, I'm somewhat a geneticist, and meaning that I study heredity. One thing you know about me, I think I've always talked about it. I actually worked in a laboratory and research with all dementia, forms of dementia, was like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, okay? So I did that for quite a few years, majoring into clinical psych along with some art base as well. So I had to go back in my archives with blood types. You know, I'm fascinated by blood types and I'm really good with it. So I have to think to myself, I've always called the O the heirlooms, and I had to kind of reverse it a little bit. I said, wait a second, what do I know about the A's and B's? Because remember, I've always claimed that the O's are the hubs of the other blood types. But I'm in an inverted part of the country. Listen, it's very relative. I'm not in North America anymore. I'm in inversion. I'm in South America. I'm in a totally different pole. I'm closest to the southernmost equator. Okay, so my mind is also accessing points of reference that is very important. Yes, so I had to go back to my references as a young student. And I remember knowing that, yes, the A's, because I talk to you very much, I always talk about the A's and the ABs connected to the indigenous, Cherokee, the Blackfoot, the Iroquois, the Creek, the Sioux, the Chictoy. A lot of those are literally the A's and B's. Now, A's, I can tell who you are based on your complexion usually and your jaw type, the way that your chin is, your neckline, your arms. I study genetics so much, I can see genetics pretty well on people, and I can call it almost a spade for a spade. So I know that the A's are, I had to look at it and say, wait a second, why did I always think that the O's were the progenitors? If those are the indigenous, and they've been there a long time, wouldn't it make sense that A, like the beginning of the alphabet, would be the beginning? So I started to break it down, like, yes, the A's would be the beginning. The A's were the ones that were the natives living on the lands of local areas amongst all on the earth. B's, which you'll see more in Asiatic communities, you'll see more Asians with B's, and that's why I see a lot of the Chictoy, the Cherokee, because remember the Asiatics did a mass migration over almost, I think it's like 800 years ago, and mixed with some of the indigenous copper people. That's why you get these beautiful copper brown people with like very Asiatic eyes, okay, like the Cherokee. The Sioux look like that. I think most of them, except when they get a little closer. Even in Canada, yes, I think so as well. Very Asiatic features. That's where you get the B, okay? So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, wait, maybe I'm an inversion. Maybe I wasn't right about this. Maybe the original blood type started at A. Wouldn't that make sense at the beginning of the alphabet? And wouldn't it make sense that beginning of the alphabet was 1, And then it was introduced to another, which was B, because B came after the A, because B was introduced via the Asiatics, who were usually very xenophobic. Asiatics did not mix with anyone. But when they did mass migrations, they tend to mix with the natives when they came upon them. Okay, that's where you get to the rainforest here in South America. When you go in the middle of South America, inside of the jungles, you don't see many people that are looking all totally copper anymore. You're seeing people that look very Asiatic, with straighter hair, more Asiatic features, with sometimes the copper skin. Okay, so it makes sense that the beginning progenitors were A. I was told that the A blood type was the first. Yes, alpha. Well, what? I knew it in per se, but I personally knew based on research and knowing what strength and what how strong the O's were, that O's based on their strength were progenitors. I have to take that back. A's are the originals, first letter of the alphabet. B's are the addition, and then you get AB, which is a combination of mixing over time. That happens when you mix certain blood types over time. But then we always call it O. Why are we calling the O blood type O? It is 0. Remember we talk about 0 point return to 0 point? It isn't an O family, it's a 0. Because these zeros, which are O's, were created. And now as I do research now, mind you, this is tentative until I get my research papers, because I did profound research in the 90s and 2000, where I have a lot of research and I have a lot of access to old archives. So I have to go into that. But learned that O was the first. I personally don't think O was the first. I think O was the first genetically homogenized, mixed. Listen, I'm come up with some information via talking to it. I personally think O is the 5th race that was created and was upgraded. That's why O's have a stronger ability to field in information. That's why O's have more resiliency now. O positives have more resiliency to diseases that were known to kill out A's and B's. That's why many of the Arawak and the Caribbean died off when Europeans came in, because they were not able, their immune system and their endocrine system was very weak, based on being very limited in exposure to any sort of microbial, that it just decimated their whole race, their whole villages. So now I have to go back. Now, mind you, listen to me, family. I know we're getting into this, but it's so deep that it kind of bugs me out, because again, I'm not saying the shaman is the see all be all, but it made sense to me, because now the A's were the original people that were here. Remember, when the Anunnaki, when the Crocodilians, when the Arcturians, when they came to this planet, there were beings already here. And remember, they said they were very primitive beings that weren't necessarily mind beings. They were very instinctive, very based in just living cohesive with nature. They weren't beings that were in thought. They were just connected to basic nature, just lived cohesively. They weren't ETs. They didn't have the intelligence of the ETs. So wouldn't it make sense that the natives that were A's and B's were just there? But in order to field in information and build another race, they had to add their own genomes. So they had to create another race of people. So couldn't it be that the 5th race are the 0 point people who had all of the combinations of the different blood types, right? Because O's have all the combinations, and they mixed them all, but they added ET DNA in order to field in a type of being, a type of human that would be able to have certain kind of intelligence, that they would be able to be able to access higher points and references of consciousness. Okay? And if you look at the Japanese distinction of O's, ABs, and so on, it would be very fascinating, if you're very interested in this, to look at Japanese, because the Japanese tend to work with people based on blood types. There's certain dispositions with each blood type, and I find it holds strong. Usually A's have a certain disposition, B's, ABs have a certain disposition. It's a general it's a general disposition that can obviously go a little more left and right based on exposure or conditioning or religious influence or trauma based or what have you. Okay, so we take that information, and now I understand that the fifth race, the fifth element, which if we go into the movie, The Fifth Element, remember The Fifth Element? This was a being, she was a super being, her head was red, and she was able to, she spoke an ancient language, because now we have to start thinking to ourselves, what other movies have they referenced to a fifth kind of being? So we have the fifth element. And this being was speaking ancient language. Remember, they accessed her point. She was walking around. She was a walking, talking, other ancient being that was released amongst the people. Then I had to think of, where are all the O's? And when did the O's actually start to show up? Because remember, blood types weren't something that were talked about other than when we started to get into the influences of the Germanics, eugenics programs. That's when we started to get into blood types. Previous before 1933, I'm not sure. I have to reference this again. I can't look at some of my archives. I have some great books, and so that's why I say don't take this. These are all tentative based on what I remember and what I'm fielding together. I don't remember us talking about blood types at all previous to the 1930s. So it makes me think that became conversation when we have a master eugenics group called the Nazis, who got access to that information via the ET groups that were, they weren't ETs, futuristic humans that were influencing them, giving them technology in order to experiment on mankind. And if we didn't hear about it, then we don't really know, because O's, even though O's are taking up a lot of the populace, you see a lot more O's, we know that the planet was colonized. So we know that previous to colonization of the crocodilians, of the Syrians, of the Illyrians, of beings who came here and seeded their own ET genomes into certain people, we know previous to that, the planet wasn't overpopulated. It actually had a minimal amount of people and a small demographics of people. If you look even in bones and archives, you don't see massive graves of bones everywhere. You don't see that. If the further back you go in time, the least amount of people you see. That means that other beings came here, and that's when we started to get a spike of populations based on them doing some hybrid programs, some nasty hybrid programs where they're mixing and messing with people's genomes. Okay, so I get into the fifth race. I figure out that most likely the fifth race are all the O progenitors. So I say to myself, I want to be rational. If 0 blood type, I'm not going to call it O anymore, 0 blood type plus and negative were a futuristic mixed race of people, purposefully mixed with everything to give them every sort of benefit possible by mixing them with every sort of A, B possible. Because remember, I'm in South America, everything's inverted. Remember, when I was in North America, I said the 0s were the progenitors. I'm changing that based on what I'm learning and looking into. The A's are the beginning, the B's come next. The O's were the 0s were the creations that are newer to the planet, based on the fact that they have a lot of interesting qualities that come along with their genomes that isn't denoted to those very remote groups of A's and B's. Then I start to think to myself, okay, so if we had master eugenics, more so global eugenics going on, that created a rainbow people, a rainbow people, because that's what zero would mean. If I'm going to invert everything and say that A is the beginning and that O is the last, then I have to take in consideration that O would be the incorporation of all the others. So I wasn't necessarily wrong before, but I inverted the beginning. I actually put the end at the beginning and the beginning at the end. Okay? So we have the 0s who I call the rainbow people. And as the shaman is talking to me, he's basically telling me that the zeros were created as a rainbow population of people to have all the benefits of the planet. But we also know that O negatives tend to have the most recessive, most limited ability to overcome, and that's a fact. You can look into that. That's why a lot of people call O negatives aliens, right? If you ever notice, people always say O negatives are like the royal bloodline. I don't agree with that, but they'll say O negatives are very special. What makes O negatives special is because they're like they don't have any environmental protection. They are the most sensitive environmentally, which makes me think that they're in the inversion part of the O positives, because O positives are basically super beings, and that's genetically. If you want to look that up, we're the most regenerative. We age 0. If you take an O negative aging and you take O positive aging, O negatives will age a little quicker than O positives, but O's in general, zeros in general, age the least out of all of the other progenitors. Okay, that's just, and they've done research on that, so that isn't even a judgment, that's what it is. O's are very sensitive environmentally, which makes me think that they were created or their gene was isolated and they were basically stripped of certain things, maybe experimentally, which make them more susceptible to environmental issues. Because they have very sensitive endocrine systems. They tend to have more sensitivity to the environment than most. Like if you, especially when I did research, a lot of babies who were O negative or negative Rus had issues with the environment, like a lot more allergies, very sensitive to the sun. And that's why I understand when people said they were aliens, because it's almost like they weren't from here. So I think personally that a lot of the O negatives that aren't cloned, now listen to what I said, I personally think that all of the O negatives that aren't cloned, because remember, all clones come up with O negative. There isn't a clone that will come up O positive. Listen to me, family. They did research. Even when you clone animals, it strips. It's like taking a copy. Okay, so copies don't have the same original blood types. It'll recede it. So there will be clones that have O negative, just like a special being, but it doesn't mean that they're all O negatives are clones. There's some O negatives that are actually original beings, and I personally think that they have more of an specific ET quality than not. And I'm starting to think that maybe the crocodilians, maybe some of the Lyrians, because I'm thinking of the reptilians might have more of this O negative quality. I have to do a little more research and see if there's a connection to people that I know from seeing them are reptilian based, and seeing if there's a connection to them being O negative. So what I'm saying is that not all negatives are clones, but a clone will always come up with O negative. But the O negatives may have more of a specific type of ET group than most. And I personally think that if we go into the O positives, we might start finding out that the O positives are not necessarily ET group, but they're actually mixed with the interterrestrials. That's why they hold a strong non-aging quality. That's why O positive Rus tends to be more regenerative, because they might be more from here. So if they're mixed with the subterranean reptilians, the positive Rus, it would make sense why they do well under the sun, why they don't age as quickly, because they're actually from this planet. And if you take O negatives may be actually the hybrids that absolutely are mixed with the ET groups that aren't from this planet. Okay, it's just what I'm surmising. But what I will tell you, family, is that I think I just found out that there is a rainbow race that was created, and they're the zeros. The zeros, O's of negative and positive, are the rainbow people. And then you have to think, what is this propaganda of the rainbow? They say that the rainbow represents gay people, but really in itself, the rainbow is an incorporation of all spectrums of light. So maybe they tied it to that group to make it more, give it more of a stigma, the rainbow. But what if they created the zero race to be prepared genetically for a shift that would come planetarily, so that they have all of the different races together in one, and that they were able to field in the energies, whether it be Arcturian, maybe, humans, natives, Asiatics, the Nubians, the Germanics. These rainbow people have all of the races. And if you come to Brazil, you see that there are these amazing looking people. Listen, I haven't seen in years. This is one thing I haven't seen. My grandmother had this. This is a very rare quality. That's how you know how mixed the people in Brazil are. I haven't seen in years where people with chocolate skin. I haven't seen it in the States. It's a rare quality. It's a very what do you call it? It's recessive. You don't see it as often. I haven't seen a person with very dark Nubian skin, like beautiful carbon skin with gray eyes. That's what Cucina was saying she saw. That's a very rare quality. It makes me think that they have been the nasty eugenicists. Maybe they weren't all that crazy. Maybe they had some intel saying, listen, planetarily, we're about to go through a shift that will create an issue for any hybrids on this planet. So we have to genetically homogenize people enough to be able to survive. The A's, the B's, they may be able to tolerate it, but we have to give them enough of our gene pool to keep the intel, the information, the galactic information, spike up their intelligence and make it so that we can still survive on this planet. So they kept mixing the different DNA, trying to get a perfect prototype in order to field in a new race, a fifth element, a fifth species, a fifth race that would basically, and now I realize I've been seeing 555 every moment I've been coming here, from the time I'm on the plane, from when I'm sitting down, when I want to go see the shaman, 555 shows up. It's the fifth element. It's the fifth race. It's the race that was created in order to survive all of the crazy madness, because what they did is basically make almost like a super race of beings that had everything. So you have the benefits of being maybe sound, intelligent, with a heightened intelligence that sometimes comes from some of the Asiatic groups who are good in mathematics. Then you have the beautiful quality of being protected by the melanin of the people of the tropics and also of Africa. Then you have the European standard of being able to field in new ways to create systems, to build new ways to survive in all different demographics, and because Europeans, what they do is they structurally build. Okay, that's a benefit that they do. Then you take and the benefits of maybe the natives and the native talk to nature. So what if they just created this super race to have every single benefit of every single thing that is on this planet, so that when the time came, when a shift would come in consciousness and in the planetary shift, that these eugenists, these Nazis, created in order to survive a futuristic, maybe a cataclysm, maybe something beautiful, but something. So I think it's very interesting. Wait, hold on. Kirk mixed with native Tainos and Europeans, not just blacks. Oh, you guys are talking about something. Jay Angeles. Yes, I think they've been messing with our genomes, not necessarily to depreciate us. We can always talk negative about sometimes what some of these beings do, but why don't we ever talk about some of the benefits of having a combination of genomes that would help us in all types of scenarios? I would love to I have the native Carib in me and some of the Taino that allow the trees and nature to be cohesive with me. They remember me, the animals, except the monkeys. The monkeys are scared of me. The monkeys won't come near me. The monkeys just go around the house. They won't come near the house. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe there's a benefit to what they did. And again, I don't really have an issue with the eugenics of the Germans, because I know where they got the intel from and I know what they were able to do. Where I took issue is that they were experimenting on people along with the United Snakes of America, and they basically were utilizing it with one group of certain types of Illuminazis and, you know, crocodilians, some form of insectilians, hostile insectilians, and they were working on certain groups more so than others. And we know who those groups are because if you go to South America, you know who has the issue. And how do I know that this fifth, where did this come from? Okay, so you say, okay, you know, Fleur Brune, you've gone too far. Now you're saying that there's a fifth element. You know, some of you think I go cuckoo. Some of you think I go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Some of you think I draw straws. So I have to keep rational sometimes because I have to be very, very clinical in how I see things. So I had to look from another angle. And because I'm here in a different environment that is very different from where I'm normally accustomed to, everything is very different here. I've been to many places. This is probably just so different than anything that I'm accustomed to that it's got me in awe. Why? Is because when we were discussing the shaman, and again, I'll go in with the shaman because some of you want to know how the healing went, what techniques he gave me. I will do that. I'm going to have Sebastian on my Patreon page sometime this week. We're going to do a wonderful Q&A. He was amazing. He helped me a lot. He taught me things I hadn't ever heard before. And because he speaks a language that I'm not accustomed to, the things that he taught me were things that I haven't had, there wasn't any way I would have accessed. So I really appreciate Sebastian for doing that. Big up to Sebastian, my new shaman. And I tell you, I'm going to make sure that I keep in touch with him and also refer him to quite a few people. He was amazing. And like I said, for someone to cause me to be in awe, you know they're thebomb.com, just literally. And big up to Kachina, who found me my shaman. Anyway, so I realized that maybe I was going too far, right? So, okay, I said, okay, there's a fifth race. It's a 0 point race that they created via eugenics. And also what people don't realize, as much as you say that the Germans were prejudiced against people of color, I will tell you something. If they were prejudiced and they had issues with black people, they wouldn't have moved to a country with only dark people and mixed with them. And you don't realize some of these Germanic people also went into Africa and ended up making mulattoes with people. So if they really had that as an agenda, then they wouldn't have done that. People who have prejudices or think people are lower in race and intelligence, they don't mix with those people. They just don't do it. I'm not saying all the Germans did that, but a lot of them did. A lot of them have mulatto children and mixed children from South America. They did. They moved there and a lot of them acclimated to the environment and married and made children here in Argentina, in Paraguay, and Brazil. They did. So if race was an issue for them, they were creating a master race. Listen to they told us part of the story. Yes, the Germans were creating a master race. The eugenists were creating a master race, but you didn't realize the master race. Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Cucina. I got the message. Thank you, Cucina. You're right. I'm not going to give the information. But if they were creating a master race, we took it like they were creating a master white race. You know, you have all these crazy Nazis walking around killing off all other dark races and people thinking it was no, they were creating a master race, but it was the incorporation of all the people. That's how limited people are in intelligence. They were creating a master race. It was a mixture of everything. It was like taking a bowl of every single benefit. Like, you know how you do your energetic circles and you say, you know, I want a little bit of this. I want a little bit, you know what? I want to have good intuition. I want to have good skin. I want to be smart. I want to be patient. It was kind of like that. So genetically, you know that you can select certain very minute qualities in gene pools, and if you're able to master that via having ET or future beings who have already done this before coming back to assist you in your genetic mastery, why do you think they were experimenting on twins? Why do you think some of the experiments that they did didn't ever stop? They kept going because they mastered and created a master race, but it wasn't a European master race. It was 0 point. They created the O's. And I'm gonna do research because I'm excited and I can't really vet it out because I'm here. I don't have any of my research papers. I don't have access to archives. I still have paid my dues to be able to access certain research information. So we have an issue, family. We have some lies that have been projected and sent to us. Now, okay, this is where I'll say, because I don't want to jump all over the place. I'm going to stay on topic tonight because I know a lot of times, you come on this feed and you think it's not. What I will say with this is, how did I vet out about the fifth race? And how did I realize that it's zero, which is the newer fifth race? That's a corporation. There's a combination of behavioral patterns that goes along with being a zero, okay? That is also why, if you notice, every single one of your presidents, as long as we can go back and I can reference, I don't know, was Eisenhower also an O? As far as all I know, all the presidents have been an O negative. Don't quote me on that. I'm going to make sure. I think let's say the majority. I know the majority have been O negative. So they've all been zeros, okay? I also know that the Japanese tend to do higher field business with only specific people who have O0 blood type. I also know, if you look up the blood types, if you look at the general disposition of O's, or 0 point, which I'm calling the fifth race, the rainbow people, you will start to see a general consensus of incorporation of all the other blood types in one type of being. Now, when I came to this country and I started to interact with some of the people, and I don't know all the blood types because, again, I don't speak the language. Cucina is my translator. Big up to Cucina, who's with me daily, chilling out with me, the native Brazilian who's about this life. I can't vet out all the different blood types because, again, but what I will note is something that's very disturbing. And this is why I won't necessarily keep this on for so long, because I think this has very grave consequences, and this is where eugenics isn't fair. Okay, so I think many of you talk about, and sometimes you criticize me for saying master who you're mating with. I always say that to you because you need to mate with those who have higher consciousness and higher intelligence. I may be judged as this, and I'm sorry if I offend anyone. When you're mating with people with very low intelligence or limited consciousness, meaning they have a cap on their genetics. Now, this is where it gets really abusive. When you do eugenics programs in populaces where you have natives who are limited in, I don't want to say intelligence, I want to call them more primitive. And primitive is negative to those who don't understand. I think it's beautiful to be cohesive with nature. I think it's lovely for many people to be simple and require very little and to live just very day to day within only the requirements of nature. When I use the word primitive, I want you to understand and understand what I mean. This is where eugenics and the ET hybriding gets abusive. I've only been in this part of Brazil, and I won't say where, obviously, because I'm keeping my anonymity, okay? It's a small part of Brazil, like this much, a minute, as compared to a huge, beautiful continent, the most resourceful that I've seen in a long time other than Africa. Africa trumps every country by far, resources, and that's why it's being raped and pillaged and genocidally, people are being murdered, mind, body, and spirit. You already know the whole story of colonization via ETs and then people who do exactly what the ET groups do, okay? So this is where it gets iffy. Because you have a new race being produced by high-end genetic modification, what happens is that these beautiful, simple people that are not what you consider to be intellectually advanced, because it is a necessity for them because they live in nature. They're not living on other planets where their intelligence supersedes the general populace of Earth beings, the actual humans, the primitive people that they say. I hate to use that because I'd have to tell you what I mean. It's abusive to create beings that are heightened in intelligence, and because the heightened intelligence that's mixed with ET genomes allows for a manipulative overseer's quality that will keep people suppressed and abused and used as slaves. This is why I talk to you from South America, because you see that here with the brown people. And what's interesting, because I'm talking to you as a copper woman from the States whose family migrated from here, but remember what blood type I am. I am O positive. I am 0 point. They created beings that superseded the intelligence of the locals. They bred people who would have an advantage over those who were just nature people. They're not bad people. They're not low in any way. They're just different, and they're nature. They're basically nature people. These are jungle people who live beautifully in the Amazon. They required very little. They know the animals. Their intelligence has to do with nature. The intelligence that's mixed in the hybriding eugenics program had heightened the ability and the qualities that are associated with beings that are colonizers. Because remember, the ET groups are colonizers from other planets, and their intelligence supersedes anything human. You take those they're peaceful people. You take those beings and you put them as a 1% of population in a society with native indigenous that are simple people. And now they're subjugated to enslavement and subjugation and deprivation. And unfortunately, because we in the West, or more so in the northern part of Americas that are of color, and I'm talking to people of color, it's sad because there is a primitiveness to their ability to discern. You can see it, and I'm telling you this, that's why I know, I think if anybody else said it, they would be considered a racist. You say if it was a lunar who said this, you'd be like, that's a racist, you racist bastard. I'm telling you, I see it, family, and it's very sad. And remember, I'm in a small part, so remember, I'm seeing more native people, native brown people and brown people, okay? There's a limitation to their intelligence based on their mix with a lot of the natives. And when I say intelligence, I'm talking about intelligence as far as books and all the stuff that's associated with others that have come here, colonized, and had an advantage because they're mixed with DNA of beings that are from other planets, other places, or have more, or have been genetically homogenized to have heightened amount of manipulative qualities to be able to discern things in very computer-like ways, okay, AI-like. You take those people and you mix them with local brown people that used to be basic jungle people. They look lazy. They look to others. Listen, I'm telling you as a woman of color, what I'm seeing, they look to be primitive. Even their shine in their eyes, because, you know, these countries in South America, where I am in this part of Brazil, it's a patriarchy. It's all patriarchy. There isn't any women power here. Let me me and Kachina and my little ones, we are the women power. There isn't any women power here. I don't want to laugh about it, but you don't see that here, especially where I am. It's a patriarchy. Men are in rulership here. It is obvious in how the women are treated, or actually not treated, you know, disregarded. Also, the light force that you see in people, as far as how they're able to communicate or what they're able to basically understand, is limited. Okay, they're very impulsive, which comes from being more primitive. It doesn't make it bad, but it makes it bad when you're colonized by people who have a very manipulative quality to take advantage of people that are just jungle people that are meant to live in rainforests, eating free and clear in land and living cohesively with nature. Then you take these colonizing type of beings that come to this planet and this country and basically utilize the fact or suppress the people that were native to here. So of course the people seem primitive based on the fact that they are, you know, they're amongst people that aren't indigenous from here. And the people who are obviously in rulership in Brazil aren't the natives. If you don't know that, you should, it's fact. Okay, there aren't any brown people here that are part of anything that's calling the shots here. You can see it as soon as you come. It's all good in the hood for me, but you see that. And it's because there is a suppressive type of quality that comes with hybriding people of a certain type of intelligence and them being the overseers over very primitive, beautiful, cohesive nature beings. So now when others see them, they look primitive, they look lazy, they look, and also, you got to take in consideration the amount of alcohol that they, you know, today's Sunday, most of the shops were closed on Sunday, but all the alcohol stores were open, you know, all the places with liquor. And many of you know, because I've studied research, indigenous people have a sensitivity to sugar. Because they have an allergy to sugar, distilled sugar causes a massive amount of euphoria. That's why indigenous people get addicted. You see it with the Cherokee, you see it with the Blackfoot. It happens in North America, it happens in South America as well. So the majority of people they know are being suppressed. So what they do is they indoctrinate them with church, and they also indoctrinate them with liquor, okay, which is distilled sugar, which causes demon attachment, low field archonic voices, and it takes away from their soul, their life force. Okay, so when you're talking to some of the people here, the local people, it's as beautiful as they are, and as you want so much to see the light in him, the light is very dim, if in fact is there, and that's what makes it very. That's why I say the eugenics, and I want to keep it real with you, because I think a lot of times, like I said, if you heard this from a lunar, y'all would be like, and smoking too, yeah, smoking. But again, a lot of stores were closed, but liquor was available. So it also knows that the government understands and overstands, because there's an overpopulation of people here, and only 1% of people hold the wealth, and none of them are brown. Okay, so just letting you know, but though it's a brown country, so you already know there's a lot of indoctrination and suppression. It's all, you know, we're living, and what's wonderful about me and Kachina, we're seeing and preserving and seeing. And it's good for me to have a wonderful view, bird's eye view, to see how certain eugenics programs work and what they were meant to do. But on the flip side of that, the creating the master race, which is 0 point of people, you see that the O's, and that's why I say I can't tell you, because I can't talk to the people and say, oh, in Portuguese, are you O positive? You know, and you don't want to offend anyone, because sometimes they're very sensitive, because a lot of them are suffering from, you know, Stockholm syndrome, from being in churches, indoctrinated. They believe whatever's taught to them by the populace. Many of them are very susceptible to that, because they're very jungle-like people. So whatever they're told, they believe. Whatever they're promoted to do, they do. So it's a little different. So I don't want to offend anyone, but I smile. I show them my light so that they can see that there is someone of color that looks just like them, that is happy, doing well, financially astute, healthy, educated, so that they at least have a visual of something that looks a little different than what they see on a daily basis. Okay? Because this isn't a world for the, this is whatever they have to go through spiritually. I don't judge it. Everybody has to go through their own spiritual journey. And that's why you got to be careful judging it, because these people have to go through this spiritual journey. You never know. Maybe these were the people that were very prejudiced before in other lifetimes, and they have to experience the same subjugation of prejudice that in the previous lifetime they gave on to others. So that's why you got to be careful judging it, because everybody is learning is on a spiritual journey. So what looks like suppression for me and from the outside is a spiritual lesson for them. So I take it as that. Where is okay, also, wait, hold on. I'm trying to read these comments. Australia, Aborigines, Western Europe. Yes, the Celtic have a high amount of that too, but you have to take in consideration. Remember, the Aboriginal. Okay, so if we talk about the Aboriginal, now we're going to bring in another race of people. The Aboriginals say that they are the kin to the Pelagians. The Aboriginal, now this nobody else, because there's a lot of people lay claim to being Pelagian that look nothing like the Aboriginal. The Aboriginal actually have archived information and ancestral verbal communication over generations that they and the Cherokee are actually kin, and the Celtics, which is interesting because remember the most contactees were also the Irish. Remember that? Remember at one point it was the Irish that were being abducted, the Cherokee and the Aboriginal? But remember, for some reason, the Aboriginal and the Cherokee and the Celtic, the Irish aspect, the Irish, were the contactees that were having a lot of contact back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They also were O's. And they also, the Aborigines say that they are the direct lineage visually of the Pelagians. Because you don't see Aboriginal looking Pelagians on YouTube. They don't look anything like the Aboriginals. Aboriginals have wider noses, bigger faces, darker skin, beautiful, their hair turns blonde. So they're beautiful, unique looking people. But the Pelagians, they lay claim to the Pelagians along with the Cherokee. So what does that tell you? And they're O's. So it makes me think that they were mixed with those particular ET groups, okay? Got to be careful with the Cherokee because the Cherokee usually have AB. I haven't met many purebred Cherokee that didn't have, the Aboriginals have O, so it makes me think maybe the Cherokee were created from the Aboriginals or vice versa. The Aboriginals were created from the Cherokee. Remember, we're going in inversion. So just remember that. The Aboriginals lay claim, and they have the most proof of anybody. Because there's pictures of, and I have to say that to people, because a lot of times when people first started looking into origins, especially people of color, they would see Pelagians that were blonde hair and blue eyes. And then when you see facts of actual archives that the Aboriginals hold, no other people hold, the Aboriginals hold, they actually have fact and actually archives of their interaction with the Pelagians. That's what they say, and I've seen it. So they're the only group that I know that actually has proof that they've had contact, and they might be the group that was seeded. They say that they're seeded from the Pelagians. So I personally think that those groups of indigenous were seeded from the Pelagians probably, but I probably started with the Cherokee, and then if the Aboriginals are 0 point, the Aboriginals came after the Cherokee. If we take what I say and field it together as correct. This is interesting. I read into research people who are non-African and non-European when I comes to negative is 1 in 10,000, and that's not even based on types. Very interesting. Yes, we are the blue race. And also okay, so I know this is a lot, family, and I know I hate to come to you without, I love to have my books, and I love, the one thing I appreciate when I'm home is that I have my research papers and I have a lot of good research on blood types. This is something that I know. But I have to talk about the 0 point people, the rainbow people. And I want to talk about from positive and from challenging. I think it's amazing. First of all, I think it's amazing to have the ability to change genomes and to select. I think it is a wonderful thing, but I think it has to be taken to I think you should be very responsible when messing with the gene pools of specific people or animals. I think when it comes to genetically homogenizing or genetically modifying people, ethics and morality usually take a left because scientists tend to be very far removed when studying and doing research and experimenting. Unfortunately, it takes it does. Like I said, I worked in a lab. There wasn't many jokes going on. Well, we used to look up ET or big up to Charlie Carver. Oh, I'm not supposed to say his name. Get in trouble. We used to look up ET autopsies during our research. We were young, so we would just, when we get bored in research, we just look up alien autopsy and test blood. I think it's past the imprisonment time, so you can't get in trouble if it's past 7 years. Let's see. I am the mixed, I think, no, and when I say mixed race, remember family, there are people who are light-skinned, European-looking, who are mixed with every European. This is what I'm talking about. The master race wasn't just one isolated race. It was a mastery of mixing all of the qualities of all of the genomes on this planet, including ETs that had certain qualities to enhance the intelligence and to make a master being, a fifth race, in order to see what that was, or to be able to survive what comes energetically or higher in consciousness now. So you can see someone, you know, it's not just about mixing just with brown and white. That's so limited because first of all, you can have an O positive brown person and O positive lunar. We have to be careful with that because you can mix people, O positive lunar and an O positive brown person are just lighter and darker skins of each other. They share a lot of lineage, but then you can take a European who's mixed with Germanic, who's mixed with Swedish, who's mixed with someone from New Zealand or the northern part near Alaska, or is mixed with the Nordics from, you know, who are mixed with the Turkish. That's mixing different genomes because someone from Turkey may have an isolated gene to be able to absorb and to digest some soluble fats. So you mix that person with maybe someone from Scotland who maybe doesn't require that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful. When I say mixing, it doesn't always have to be in black and white because we've all been conditioned to only see race as colors. First of all, there's only one human race, but there's a whole lot of hybriding going on with all kinds of ETs. We don't even know what kind of animals they mixed in with us. All of us got reptilian DNA in us. Listen, we got to be careful with this. That's what I wanted to bring this up because it's not just human mixing. It is ET and interterrestrial mixing that they've been doing, and some animal DNA as well. So this fifth race, this 0 point, these zeros that they've created, I had to find out that these are the rainbow people, and these are the people that are being mixed, that were created. The O, the zeros, are the last to be created, and they were homogenized based on mixing all of the different blood types and making them into a super type of being who has either a super ability to be regenerative in the environment, and those who are stripped of that, I think that are more ET, like the O negatives. When I say ET, I say that, remember, there are interterrestrials, there are inner earth beings here that you would call ETs, and there are extraterrestrials that come out and, you know, from different solar systems and out in the, you know, the cosmos, okay? So there's some differences, and then we don't take into consideration, what if you're mixed with like the Murph family? We got a lot of things going on, family, but I'm grateful to find out that maybe some of the work that some of these crazy Nazi eugenicists did wasn't all in vain. Maybe there was a reason why they did this, and maybe it wasn't as diabolical as we initially thought it was. I'm not giving them props because these people murdered a lot of people, but there was a lot of different people who murdered a lot of people. I think Germans get more credit for murders than the colonists who came to the Americas, who killed off like most of the native indigenous there. You know, everybody kills when they go to other places. You know that, right? There are places that are in Africa with only brown people going into other countries killing only brown people. You know this, right? So we got to stop being so one-sided when we see things and take away from some gems because we see it from an angle that's been projected to us via some propaganda that probably had an agenda all from the Getty up. Okay, so remember, I've worked in research, so when I hear about some of the research that some of the eugenicists done, it is impressive. And it's not to say it was good or how they got the research was good, but it's impressive to see that they were able to get that kind of intel. And I personally don't think it was all through experiments. I think my personal opinion is that they had futuristic beings from another planet, or I personally don't think they were another planet. They were futuristic type of beings that came back and gave them intel to get some resources. That's all I think it was. So I hope this wasn't offensive to anyone. And big up to the native Brazilians. I appreciate coming to this part of the country. I appreciate all the intel that I've been allotted to see, the upgrades, the uploads. I'm really appreciative to see a different perspective of people. I want to say that I apologize if the way that I described some of the brown indigenous people from here was insulting. It wasn't. It's actually very beautiful. I think that intrinsically they have been ruined by colonizing ET hostels that have genetically homogenized mankind to come be their overseers. Because I personally think that they're beautiful. When they're out in nature, when they're doing their things, when their children are jumping off waterfalls, when they're growing their own food, when they're in their tribal village base, that's beautiful. That isn't primitive, that's cohesive in your environment. But when living amongst hostiles, whose only agenda is to utilizing you and raping your resources and indoctrinating you and chemicalizing you with alcohol and drugs and trafficking your women and suppressing you based on, some form of sick patriarchy, then obviously it looks like something else. So I just want to talk about it from that position. I say it in all angles, so you see what I'm trying to share with you. And I'm really appreciative to Cucina for really giving me a wonderful, realistic view, because I had my own concept of Brazil. Listen, you want to hear my concept of Brazil? Before I got to Brazil, I thought all women walked around topless. Listen. And remember, I have family from South America. Listen to my concept, and that's how you know I was ignorant. And I can take my own criticism as well. I was ignorant. I thought all women walked around here naked and unafraid, topless, with their bum-bums out and perfect. I thought all, I did. I thought all Brazilians were friendly, loving, and kind. I thought that I'd be hearing like samba out of every car. I'm being honest. I thought, what else did I think? I thought that, what did I think? I thought that I'd be seeing anaconda. I had a concept. Do you understand? So I'm saying sometimes we see from the angle of propaganda that's given. There aren't women, first of all, most women don't, it's illegal. I don't know if it's illegal, but women don't walk around topless here at all. The only time you see topless or naked looking women is at carnival, okay? Not all Brazilians are friendly. There is a heightened amount of patriarchy. If you want to know what patriarchy is, come to South America, women. There is an overpopulation of subjugated. There's a lack of respect for life here. It's different, but it's not. But there's positive, but there's realistic points too. So I had a concept. I thought I was gonna come here naked and unafraid. Bums would be out. I thought all the women would look like the better shape of me. With their bums out, looking like playing samba. That's my concept. It wasn't like that. It wasn't at all. Not at all. There's a lot of cruelty here. The light in these beautiful people's eyes is not shining. They've been hurt, and they're so traumatized that they don't respect life. And it's not everybody, but that's a general consensus. And men have a lack of respect for women here, more so. There's a lack of respect. When I say a lack of respect, there isn't a honoring of the mother figure here. I've seen that in some parts of South America, Central America, but not here. It's a little different, and it's a little shocking. It's humbling to see that, because my concept of Brazil isn't the same. But Brazil, where I am, is beautiful. It is tropical. The fruit tastes like God. Some of the people that I've met are magnificent. I've enjoyed the adventures. The beach today was the bomb.com. The beach is, and I've only gone to the first beach right now. We're gonna go to the other beaches. The beach was the bomb.com. The animals are amazing. Our dog family is sick. I love the house that I'm in. There's a lot of beautiful things. So I just want to say that, and I want to keep it real because I want to give you all angles, and I want to make sure I'm keeping balanced and telling you that some of my judgment isn't always right, and some of the things I make mistakes with some of my things, even with the blood types, saying that, oh, it's the progenitor. No, A was the beginning, and everything. Is that a big spider? There's probably a big that looks like a big tarantula. I think I see a big tarantula in the house. Is that a tarantula? Hold on, family. There are big things here. Hold on. Sometimes you don't see them until later. Hold on. Oh no. Woo. Woo. You would have seen, listen, I take all spiders out. I'm not taking a tarantula out. You would have seen me I would have had to call somebody from all the way out the jungle. He would have had to come to the house and take that. I'll take everything else out, not the big guys. I did it at my house, but these are different. So does anybody want to have any questions? I'm sorry. I didn't want to make this long-winded, and I can't really see your, no. The monkeys are afraid of me, and we get into contact. I don't want to get into that now. When I talk to the gentleman who was the shaman that I went to go see, maybe we'll talk about that. But the monkeys are afraid of me. Go figure. The monkeys have created a circle all around the house. They won't come near my house. I don't know if it's because I have contact. I don't know what it is. And the monkeys were here before I came here. The house, the monkeys were all around. Once I came here, the monkeys won't come near me. They won't come anywhere near me. They walk around the house. You see their footprints in a circle all around the house. They won't come to me at all. I don't even see. They won't even come in close proximity of me. Isn't that crazy? And I don't know if it's me or just me and my daughters or what have you, but they won't come near my house. I don't know, and I can't tell you what that is. No one's seen it before. Cucina says she doesn't know what that is. Lorenzo, who built the house, said he doesn't know what that is. They've never seen that before. The monkeys are everywhere in the jungle. They play, they throw rocks at your house. Right before I came, the day I came, they were throwing rocks, having fun, playing back and forth. For some reason, they're scared of me. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Yeah, so I guess I'll find out. I'm gonna ask I gotta ask some, I don't know what that is. Anyway, so maybe it's respect. It could be respect. It could be. Maybe they're curious from afar. It could be. It could be something so It could be non super arachnophobia. It could be something non-relative. It could be something I smell differently. It could be anything. But it's interesting because they've never seen that before. No, there isn't anyone that I've talked to has ever seen that before. So it could be my energy is different. It could be, I just had contact though with ETs, and I kind of thought that was, and we saw an ET mark behind the door because the guys just built the house. So there's an ET mark behind the door in eye level, like a triangle symbol out in the bathroom. There's a whole lot of things going on, family. They probably like, look at that crazy woman. We don't know who she is. We don't know who that woman is. She might be wild, yeah. Call them telepath. I tried to. They won't come any. There were monkeys the day I was coming, because remember I came later. They were there. I heard they were there that day. Once I came, there aren't any monkeys in the trees by me. You see the footmarks all around the house in a circle, but they aren't in the trees. All the monkeys stay in the trees. You can usually see them. There aren't any. Oh yeah, I read an article. My eyesight is. I went swimming. I need to put my other contacts in, and gone higher. But a lot of queens being over the. You are. Something going on. You know what's interesting? I guess I stayed. Did I stay? Hopefully I stayed on topic the whole time. But you know what's found interesting is they have black bees here. They have black bees that make honey inside the trees. I'm gonna bring some of that honey. I want to bring some of that honey back. Yeah, they have black bees. They don't sting. They're quite interesting. They're actually they like to I let them fly. Like once in a while, they'll land on me. I let the bees, I make sure I'm very friendly with the bees. Like today I had to show the girls, I let the bee play on me, walk on me, and they're fine. They have to know the bees are, I'm grateful, I'm friends with the bees. But there's a black bee and he makes honey inside, they make honey inside trees, not on the outside, inside. It's very difficult to get. I would like to try that honey. They are unsure of your energy. Could be nervousness. You know, also, yeah, it could be nervousness because I'm not from here. I could have a totally different scent than the other people here. A totally different energy is signature. The black bears are very friendly. They're all over. Oh, the black bees? Yeah, they are. They're very, yeah. They were flying yesterday. That was beautiful. And it's just very unique to see. I bet the honey, they, you know, the gentleman said the honey was really, because I put it on my skin last night when I was at the shaman's house. He had some mixed with clove, so you put it on your skin. So I put it on my skin and it felt amazing. So I'm wondering, we'll go look. We, you know, me and Cucina, that's her nickname now, Cucina. We'll go looking for some of the honey. Yeah, the bees are very friendly. Yep, I can't. I wish I could read your comments. I swam in the ocean, and the ocean is beautiful. I will say, swimming in the ocean here, and I always big up my island, big up Martinique. Martinique, my island. I say it because, but it is. My island, Martinique, has one of the most beautiful beaches, and Hawaii. But I will say, as far as swimming, it's very, the current is very strong. It depends, and it's where, location-wise, is where I am. But the water was amazing. Like my skin, the waves were really big. It's nice because you don't have a lot of things swimming in there. There's little crabs, you know, walking in different kind of crabs on the beach, and a lot of the rivers run into the ocean. So it's very unique. Like you could walk past a river that's running into the ocean. I thought that was very beautiful to see. It's very beautiful. And there aren't any chemtrails. Let me say this again. There aren't any chemtrails. I haven't seen one. Listen to me. And what is this, the 5th day? 0 chemtrails. There hasn't been one chemtrail since I've been here. 0. I haven't been anywhere, including Hawaii, where there wasn't a chemtrail. Where else haven't I been? Yo, every single country I've been to. When I went to Mexico, there was chemtrails. When I was around Costa Rica, there was a chemtrail. There was chemtrails in Bahamas, Martinique, St. Lucia, Bahamas, Jamaica. Everywhere I've gone, there's chemtrails. There aren't any Canada. There's chemtrail, Europe. There aren't any chemtrail where I am here. Maybe there's chemtrails somewhere else. Brazil's a huge country, so I don't want to make it seem like there aren't chemtrails anywhere in Brazil, but where I am in Brazil, there are absolutely 0 chemtrails. My breathing is amazing. I think my breathing was fine. Well, I was coughing for a couple of days, a little sick. My breathing is great. My skin looks amazing. I'm grateful. It's interesting. And like I said, I'll give a whole, after I'm all done with, when I actually go back home, I'll bring up a video showing how to travel to Brazil. I'll give a wonderful, wonderful preparedness video for Brazil. I did it on Instagram a little bit. I gave everybody some tips on how to travel here. But what's made it wonderful is having a wonderful sister, which is Cucina, which is Paola. Paola has been here. She's with me every day. She's gonna stay with me for the entire, we live in a different place, but she's with me we'll be together for the whole month. And she's made it so much better. She speaks the language. She's a native to Brazil. She's made it so much easier. And to be honest, you shouldn't come to Brazil unless you have somebody who speaks the language because of some of the behaviors here. You have to be very mindful. It isn't safe when people know that you're a foreigner, especially if you speak English. There's a lot of things that could come into play. So I always say that if you come here, definitely have somebody you rock with. A lot of our family from Brazil, big up to our family in Brazil. If you know that one of our families coming up, hook up with them because you have to be able, or at least speak the language. And this is one of the countries where not speaking the language could put you in harm's way. That I will tell you, because there isn't a value for life here. They murder for less. So you have to make sure. There's a lot of tips that I made. So for anyone going, why don't you just wait until I make the video? I'll make a beautiful video. I'll put everything together. It'll be so helpful of all the things I required. everything I required when I went to Brazil. And a lot of the things that I knew I had to look and research myself, and Paola was wonderful. She did a wonderful job. She's been with, like I said, we were lost for like an hour. We were lost. We went shopping. It was fun though. And when I say your dollar does go further here, but you'll spend a lot more money. So your dollar, you can go out, but I just, I made some tips on Instagram. And again, I'll do a really good video one day for you guys here, a whole, pack it up to South America. And every country I'm sure is very different. Brazil isn't, I'm not in Brazil, I'm in a part of Brazil. And I have to say that to you because where I am isn't realistically. It is in Rio, it is in certain places, because if you went to those places, it's gonna be different behavior. Just like if you go to New York, it's gonna be different than if you go to LA, right? It'll be different than you go to Washington, DC, or if you go to over in Buffalo, New York. It's like that. So many different personalities, so many things to know. So it's good for you to have an idea of how to travel here. Cause I think I think it's important. Yeah, and it could save your life and your dollars, because you'll end up spending more money trying to, be around hustlers who see you as a mark. Learns. Anyway, family, I'm not going to keep you long. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for liking my video. I appreciate all those who like the video. I try to come out here with content, and I try to stay purposefully on task today with the topic. There is a 5th race. I personally think that they create, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's no nakedness. There's no naked and unafraid, but the bathing suits are real skimpy. Yeah, you're allowed to wear some risque bathing suits that you could get away with, but you can't be bucking naked in Brazil. Well, at least where I am, because it's not what you think. If you thought you were gonna come here, gentlemen, and also for the women, if you think you're gonna come here and find your Prince Charming, let me say something to you. There's some good-looking men. I will say, there are, but I will say this for the women traveling, and this isn't on topic, so this is at the end of my video. I'll just say this. Women here are too easily, men aren't thirsty here. There's too many women. There's a lot of women here in Brazil. So what you'll find in Brazil, if you don't want to be harassed, this is one of the places you won't have to worry about being harassed sexually. Men have sex, they're having sex readily with probably 2 or 3 different types of women. It's not a stereotype, it's the truth. So if you like to travel and not be harassed sexually, this is probably one of the rarest countries where that isn't the case. Men will admire you, but they're not thirsty. And there's there's good to that, and there's other things with that, because they're not as, they don't have incentive, because they have so many women to one, that they will be, I'm trying to be kind with this. There isn't any incentive for them to swoo you. Okay. So if they just, their concept is like, yo, you down? Because they got like 10 other beautiful women just like you. They're fascinated. Like, they think they can admire a beautiful woman. They admire you, but it's not thirstiness. And I want to say that. So if women are coming here to find themselves, that right kind of man, I'm not saying it can't happen, because there's really cool dudes here that are about this life. They're cool as far as that, and handsome too. And yeah, but you won't have them faithful. Faithfulness, the culture is a lot different, and that's not something I'm making up. That's probably more so a general consensus. I think our Brazilians, our native Brazilians, could probably confirm this. But the faithful, if you believe in faithfulness, I mean, it's just, that's interesting. Now for the men, women here are not all what you think. Okay, it depends on the part of Brazil and so on. But there's a lot of women, and because of the very sometimes poor conditions, that's why a lot of men come here. So if you wonder why men come here, is because women can be bought and sold so easily. That's why there's a lot of women being sold on the black market, and children. But women are so, they're too easily obtained, and they're lovely. Okay, so you get what's exotic for us in the Northeast and the north part of America, northern part of the Americas, isn't exotic here. So something like Florbrun, I'm considered to be exotic to men in the north. Like when I go to like New York, and so I'm exotic to a lot of men in the North Americas. Not in the Caribbean, because I look like a Caribbean girl. I'm more exotic. here I look like the majority of women. I look, literally, if you come to Brazil, you'll see fleur brune. Everywhere you do, you see a lot of me. So I'm the general consensus of how the majority of women look. So, you know, I just wanted to get that out to you for those who are thinking of traveling, and you're just know why you want to travel here. Because if you're thinking you're going to, for our sea stars who are thinking they're going to find a husband here, yeah, respected, no. There's a lack of respect for women here. You could see it. It's just not here. And the more money or more access that men have, the less respect. And even the men who don't have any resources have a lack of respect for women. It's just, but it's not, I don't want to say it like that. It's part of the culture. It's not like, you know, you could walk around and, you know, it's different. It's a different culture. I don't want to insult it and I want to judge it. It's just different. And it's not, to the people here, it may just be normal, but I want to tell those who are traveling there that, so you have an idea that that's not, you know, it's a totally different. Like I said, but if you come here and you don't like men pawing you all the time and you want to wear, well, mind you, they'll look. They look. You know, you come with a bathing suit looking cute and sassy, they look at you, but they're not thirsty. So if you like traveling without getting harassed by men, you can do that here, because they you know, there's beautiful women everywhere. It's not something that they're not used to seeing. So you can actually have an enjoyable trip without men, you know, doing, you know, some other countries, like you go to other countries, men would just be, you know, more egregious. But here, they're a little more they have a lot more temperament, because they have a lot more access to more easily without effort. Okay, so that's it. Anyway, family, so I'm gone. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was helpful. I think I stayed on topic. I'm gonna go relax, chill out. For us, it gets dark at 6 o'clock in their winter town, so I'm gonna go chill out, relax, go look at some YouTube videos. And, you know, I look forward to having a futuristic video for you. So if I get more intel on the 5th race, the rainbow people, 0 point people, I'll definitely make another video. So thank you for joining me again, and